G'day folks. Today I'm making what may be my most important video to date, and that's what is my why. So for every investor out there, it's really essential to understand, well, why is it that I'm actually investing? What's the purpose behind it? Because ultimately, if it's just to get rich, well, you're not going to get as far as if you necessarily really define it like a mission statement to say, well, this is where I want to get to and this is why I'm doing it. So if you've got that clear purpose in mind and those clear steps to getting there and that understanding of, well, how do I execute to get to that goal? Well, that's the important thing. And today I'm going to go through, well, what my why is and each step involved in that process and each goal I want to achieve over time. And I've also broken it down to, well, by what age I expect to get to each level. So, hopefully this is helpful for you at home. Okay, so to go into, well, what is my why and what is my mission statement? So for me, my goal is to have my own family, to have a cash flow foundation that pays for a primary place of residence, allows for me to retire by age 50 and be in a financial situation where I can not only set up my family for generations to come, but to also have a lasting positive impact on society. So for me, basically, if I'm to look at these broader goals, well, for me, even working two jobs, even with quite a strong cash flow foundation that I've developed from investing, for me, I still fit below Australia's median income level. Even adding all those up and even including, I guess you can call it pocket money from YouTube income from my footy related channels. So with that in mind, it's essential for me to invest to even have achieved any of these goals, let alone really work my way down the list and achieve some of my substantially lofty goals at that. So it's going to take quite a great level of skill on my part in terms of investing to get to where I want to get to. But I've got, I guess, a real level of motivation, having really defined where I want to get to really save absolutely everything and put absolutely everything into investing. So, and I don't just invest in one particular field. You should really, I guess, diversify into different areas. But at the same time, if you find particularly good investments, well, it is quite smart at times as well to concentrate your funds, which is also something that really I've started out doing and I'll also continue to do into the future. So, but to go through the stages. So stages 1, 2, and 3, well, they're complete. So that's great. So basically, first up, we had to achieve a passive income exceeding rent. So big tick there. That's something that I've achieved. And that was something even before marriage I achieved, in fact. So second up was marriage. So that's a tick. And then I've got here to achieve a passive income exceeding all expenses, including rent. So look, in theory, even as a 30-year-old, I could actually retire if I wanted. So I could leave my job as a learning support assistant at one of Melbourne's elite private schools. I could leave ESPN if I wanted to as well, and I could just stop producing content on YouTube. None of that would be a problem, and I could live a perfectly happy, albeit uneventful and cheap life. So, as I currently sort of maintain with a pretty cheapskate, or a very cheapskate lifestyle, you could say. So, but basically how I've got there, well, I've achieved that cash flow foundation really from pretty much putting everything into a cash flowing real estate investment. So basically that's given me a strong cash flow foundation that has really put me in a situation where basically it allows me to really invest now quite a lot more heavily into more speculative assets. So in particular crypto, but you could consider stocks and potentially some investment properties I'd look at as well to be quite high risk, though real estate certainly isn't on that same risk scale, it's fair to say, particularly if you're buying something that's neutral to positive cash flow. So my next three goals, so these goals that are goals that I'd like to achieve by age 40. So basically they're goals I've got less than 10 years to achieve. So the next ones will be to achieve a passive income that exceeds all expenses, including rent, on a property that can comfortably house a family. So basically the challenge in life I find is to achieve a level of income that makes it even possible to have a family. So for me, being in a one-bedroom apartment currently, well, the rent is very minimal. If I wanted to get into the type of property that I'd feel comfortable in having a family, whether it's one child, whether it's three children, doesn't matter, I'd be looking really at 3 times the cost that I currently pay. So where I am currently, well, I pay substantially under market value. So I got extraordinarily lucky with my rental situation. So that really allows me to be in a position where basically my expenses are so minimal that my passive income really exceeds. So yeah, this will be a big step. And to do that, well, basically I'll be moving into a combination of real estate, crypto, and stocks. So in this video, I'm not going to specify what sort of split or which assets I'll be getting into, particularly when. But certainly with substantial dips recently in particularly crypto quite heavily, it would be reasonable to assume that I've got quite a substantial interest in the crypto market at the moment. Because in crypto, well, when there's blood in the water and you're buying at a substantial discount, well, then you're getting substantial upside on the other end of it. So that's an asset that I've got a particular interest in at the moment anyway, that's fair to say. And I'll be producing quite a lot of crypto content accordingly and putting a lot of my own time and research into crypto, more so than the other markets. So then the next goal would be to have children. So I'd like to achieve that by age 40. So fingers crossed that when the time comes that I'm looking to go down that route, that that can be achieved. So for me personally, I'd be looking for anywhere between 1 and 3 children would be, for me, satisfactory. But of course, the costs associated, well, that's substantial. So basically, if I'm renting, well, I'd be going up 3x in terms of rent. And then, of course, there's the costs with children. And particularly if you're like me and you feel like you'd like to give them the opportunities they deserve in life, well, yeah, basically it's really heavy in terms of financial burdens. So it's going to take a lot of aggressive investing to really get into that position to be able to afford it, both the rent and the children. So the next goal, and again, this is a goal I'd like to achieve by age 40 in an ideal world, and that's to achieve a passive income that exceeds all expenses, including rent, on a property that can comfortably house a family and all the costs associated with children. So basically, if I'm able to do that, well, basically my family would be in a good financial situation and I'd be pretty satisfied with how I'm going. So fair to say over the next basically 9 years until I hit age 40, yeah, I'm going to be basically investing heavily, really going aggressively to really achieve these goals. So that'll mean that I will have to move away from other projects that aren't necessarily getting me to these goals as quickly as I should. But nonetheless, I'm not going to compromise in terms of the types of jobs I do in terms of my enjoyment levels. So currently I'm in 2 roles, both a learning support assistant role in a school, and then also writing for ESPN. They're 2 jobs I really enjoy, and I wouldn't just be ever looking at a job that pays me a higher level of money, because ultimately I don't work for money. I work for enjoyment. That's a fundamental that will make it harder to achieve my goals, but I've got a level of belief in my investing capabilities that through investment I can achieve my goals. So that will be the strategic route that I'll be taking, but quite likely, whether it's even as soon as next year, if not maybe in a few years' time, I will probably have to drop ESPN just because of the opportunity cost, where, look, it doesn't greatly help in getting me towards any of my goals, where, look, it's additional income and that's helpful, but I tend to believe that through spending greater amounts of time and energy on investing instead, that will probably fast track me to a greater degree towards my goals. So I'll determine when the right time for that will be, but nonetheless, that is something that is on my radar and something I've been thinking about for a few years now, being consciously aware of my goals and how I am going to achieve each of those goals. So, but yeah, continuing this year, given there's been quite a substantial market dip, and again, particularly in the crypto market, well, yeah, I thought it was a sound decision to continue this year. And look, if we're still in a bear market next year, look, that might sort of almost encourage me a little more just to continue it for another year, just so I can put a little bit of extra funds in the market. But I will have to weigh that against the opportunity cost of additional education and putting into other good investment opportunities. So, yeah, they're the things I'll have to really weigh up internally and make the best decision for myself and my family. So then my goals by age 50 that I would like to achieve. So basically, I would like to, by age 50, buy a primary place of residence with passive income exceeding loan repayments. So basically, I don't want the debt burden of buying a primary place of residence because ultimately, as Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad would teach you, well, it's actually a liability. So it's really, to have a primary place of residence, I consider that a lifestyle choice. So basically, by then, I would probably be at a stage where I'd be looking to have somewhere probably in excess of 10 investment properties, and I would still be maintaining crypto and stock positions at the same time to really enable the possibility of getting to this situation. So, yeah, and again, being a low income earner or relatively low income earner will, again, the level of difficulty, particularly with my level of expectation in terms of the suburb and the type of property I'd like to move into being quite high, it will take a substantial passive income, and that's why it's a goal more so by age 50 that I would be looking to achieve. And then the next one would be to achieve a passive income that exceeds loan repayments on primary place of residence and also exceeds all expenses. Once I get to this stage and I'm comfortably above those bars, well, basically that would allow me to get to a stage where I can retire. And that's where the retirement by age 50 comes in. So yeah, basically it'll be putting into these asset classes quite aggressively and really, I guess, hoping that propels me to that level by really, I guess, investing heavily into wherever the best opportunity is at the time that can really compound my money, both in terms of growth and in terms of cash flow, to get to achieve my goals as soon as I can ultimately. So the next two, which would come in after age 50. So basically, if I'm able to retire at age 50, well, it's not just to enjoy myself, sit back and play chess. So I'm a keen chess player. Maybe I could just decide I'm just going to spend a lot of time playing chess or going on holidays around the world or whatever other people might like to do. I'm not someone who likes sitting around and wasting time. There's other goals that I really want to achieve where I feel like I can add value to the world. And yeah, so these are opportunities that, having worked in the primary sector, having worked in the secondary sector, having worked in both public and private, well, basically there's opportunities that I see that aren't being met in the education sector, and I would like to see improvements. So I feel like the best route to doing that would be to start my own schools, both primary and secondary. So, of course, to achieve that, well, yeah, look, that's going to take a substantial amount of money behind me. And look, maybe it even means that I have to borrow to get into that position. But ideally, I'd really like to minimize any borrowing and really just be able to go pretty aggressively into it with a really strong financial position where basically all my passive income just pays for it all in a very comfortable manner where there'd be no financial stress in, I guess, going after these projects aggressively. So that would be the way I'd be looking at it there. And same story with a university in TAFE. So I'd like to achieve a level where I have a passive income that pays for me to start and run my own university in TAFE. So again, both of these goals are after age 50, I'd be doing it. But yeah, I'd be looking to really be in a hugely strong financial position. And yeah, hopefully these are things that I can one day achieve as those, I guess, higher level goals where, really there, I guess you could describe them as dream outcomes, where if I've got that level of passive income where I can pay to do those things, well, that'd be great because ultimately I feel I can provide value to both sectors that currently, would meet needs that certainly aren't currently being met, and I don't believe will ever get met unless I personally do something about it. So, yeah, basically until I get to that passive income level, well, I won't get too, I guess, bogged down in the planning of the achievement of these goals. But certainly once I do, and once I retire, well, then I've got really the time to dedicate towards the planning of the achievement of these next two goals. So that would really be the purpose of retiring. So It would certainly be a new sort of area of work to move into, but yeah, it would be certainly a challenge that I'd thoroughly enjoy, and something where, again, I feel like would provide substantial value to all the people that would choose to attend either the primary and secondary school or the university in TAFE respectively. So, and then for a non-financial thing, so this is unrelated to my own personal finances, and regardless of my financial position, in theory, I could achieve this goal. So basically, I would be looking to solve the taxation, government spend, and inflation trilemma. So basically, well, the government collects taxation to basically fund everything that they do, whether it's for education, whether it's for healthcare, whether it's for the homeless or defense or whatever the case may be, whatever area of spending they want to put into, it really just comes from taxation funds. And let's say we decided, well, we're going to stop taxation, but we're going to keep government spending. Well, what would happen? Well, the amount of monetary supply in the economy circulating would increase at such a frenetic pace that we would have hyperinflation and would lose our currency. So basically, these are situations that I'd like to see concurrently solved, where I'd like to see less inflation on a level where basically the real buying power of consumers dramatically rises. I'd like to see much greater government spend, in that there's a lot of programs and a lot of things that need funding. So the fact that we even have homeless people, for me, is a ludicrous concept. So things such as that, where there's those sorts of situations that current levels of government spend just can't realistically meet. And then you've got forms of taxation that personally I don't agree with and I don't feel are fit for purpose. So basically, it's finding a way where taxation is either completely eliminated or reduced to a great degree, and only really in areas that should have taxation for financial stability purposes. Really being able to find a way where government spend can greatly increase so that all government spend needs for the greater population are met, and then also doing so in such a way that the currency doesn't lose value against other global currencies, and really allows for us as consumers to have greater buying power. So I've already got a few ideas in mind as to how this can be achieved, but of course, a lot of time, research, and effort will go into this, because it is obviously the trilemma that really can't be met at this stage. But I've got several ideas that would be incorporated that could allow for the achievement of this, but it would take a lot more research and learning to get to a stage where I feel that each of these needs can be satisfactorily met. So, so this is something where, look, obviously it's the impossible goal, or so it would seem, but I've got some ideas that I'm not going to reveal on camera today, but that may be able to hopefully achieve these goals. So if I can, it would be Nobel Prize worthy sort of achievement. Not that that's necessarily an award that I'd necessarily be seeking, but it's something obviously that just for the general benefit of society would be absolutely huge. So if I can have that sort of legacy and impact where not only have I set myself up for life, but I've really dramatically improved the education sectors, because having worked in both primary and secondary, both in public and private sectors, having been a university student and worked within the university sector as well, so the tertiary sector, look, I'm not satisfied with ultimately the outcomes achieved, and I don't think that the types of options and opportunities available to students are really satisfactory for basically the 21st century. So basically there's quite a lot of improvement in those areas. And again, if this is achieved, well, the taxation trilemma, you could call it, well, basically I would have achieved things that really are pretty much unachievable, and that would really be an incredible legacy for me to have. So I'm someone where even if I retire at age 50, which is my aim, I wouldn't ever really be retiring. There would always be more goals and more things that I'd like to achieve, just being that naturally driven sort of person where, there's a lot that really I want to do in life. So, Hopefully this video helps you get a bit of a better feel into, well, why is investing important firstly, but also why it's essential to use investing if you've really got major goals and a major reason why. So, yeah, again, I strongly encourage you all to really think about, well, what is my why, and really solidify it to an extent where you can really create not only a mission statement, but really those stages as to how you're going to get there, and really set out in a granular way, just as I have, how you're going to go about getting there. So again, I could have gone more specific in how I'm going to really split my real estate, crypto, and stock holdings, and in terms of, well, when am I going to go heavy into each one? But ultimately, for your purposes at home, well, that's not information that you really need to know as to how I'm going to go about it. But I would encourage you at home to really think about, well, which area of investing do I want to specialize in, get an expert knowledge in, really do great things in, and then maybe from there you can consider branching out into maybe one of the other sectors. So maybe you start out with real estate, which is a great way where you can really leverage your money. And then from there you might decide, well, okay, I'm in a position where I'm okay with taking on more risks. So maybe you put into crypto, or maybe you just go a set and forget, put into stocks. So maybe it's the S&P 500, or for Australian investors, the A200, or so on and so forth. So there's all those opportunities out there. But anyway, folks, see you in the next video.